Imagine returning to the life you once knew, only to find everything you cherished slipping away, like sand through your fingers. What if the person you loved most had moved on, carried scars from your absence, or faced heartbreak you never imagined? This is the story of Ethan, a man who came back too late, and the consequences of timing, secrecy, and forbidden choices. Every step he took to make amends opened doors to unimaginable pain, stirring questions about love, trust, and redemption that will haunt you long after this story ends. Disclaimer: this is a dramatic content for awareness and discussion only. In 2019, in Charleston, South Carolina, Ethan returned home from a long business trip spanning months overseas. He expected warmth, forgiveness, and smiles. Yet what greeted him was tension, silence, and the echo of secrets he had left behind. At stake was not just his relationship with his partner, Claire, but also the fragile bonds of family and the remnants of trust that had once anchored his life. Every decision, every delay in coming home, had shaped this critical moment, and what followed would test his heart, morals, and resilience like never before. The first step Ethan took into the familiar hallway felt heavier than anticipated. The scent of jasmine from the garden, once comforting, now seemed foreign, almost mocking. Memories of whispered conversations, shared laughter, and unspoken promises haunted him as he ascended the staircase. He could hear the faint clink of teacups downstairs, an eerie prelude to the confrontation he knew was unavoidable. Ethan's heart pounded, not from fear of his own choices, but from the anticipation of Claire's reaction. Would forgiveness be possible, or had time irreparably altered their connection? In the living room, Claire sat, her posture rigid, eyes fixed on a photograph of happier days. Ethan tried to speak, but words felt inadequate, heavy with guilt and regret. The months he spent away had been filled with work, ambition, and unspoken desires, but they had also sown seeds of distance and misunderstanding. The tension was palpable. Every glance, every subtle movement carried an unspoken accusation. Secrets lingered like shadows in the corners, waiting to be exposed. Ethan's mind raced as he recounted every choice that had led to this moment. The late-night calls, the unanswered messages, the decisions he justified at the time. They now felt like betrayal. He remembered the small acts of kindness he had overlooked, the warnings he had ignored, and the silent suffering Claire endured while he was absent. Could he repair the fractures in their relationship, or was it already too late? The room seemed smaller with each passing second, echoing the distance that had grown between them. Yet beneath the weight of regret there was hope, faint, fragile, but alive. Ethan resolved to face the truth, no matter how painful, to confront both his past failures and the impact of forbidden choices that had entangled their lives. The question remained: could he navigate the heartbreak and secrecy to reclaim what had been lost? Or would the opportunity slip away forever? As Ethan reached for Claire's hands, trembling with anticipation and fear, a revelation hit him, one that neither of them expected, a truth hidden in plain sight that could either heal or destroy everything. How would this revelation reshape their story? And could forgiveness truly bridge the gap that months of absence had carved? If this story has touched you so far, kindly comment, "I face my truth." Share this story with all those who need to hear it. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVc and follow for more real-life, emotional, and suspenseful tales of forbidden love and heartbreak. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of Ethan's journey. The next moments would push him to the edge, testing not just love, but courage, trust, and the haunting power of regret. As the minutes stretched into hours, the silence between Ethan and Claire grew heavier than the walls around them. Every unspoken thought became a whisper of judgment. The air seemed to thicken with months of unresolved pain, forgotten birthdays, broken promises, and the aching void that distance had carved into their hearts. Could Ethan's presence alone undo what had already been irreparably damaged? Or was the timing of his return fated to be his greatest failure? Ethan sat down across from Claire, his hands trembling as if the mere act of touching reality could either soothe or shatter it entirely. The room felt suffocating, the fading afternoon light casting long shadows across the floor, shadows that mirrored the cracks in their relationship. He struggled to find words, knowing that no apology could capture the depth of his absence or the pain it had caused. Every word he could muster seemed too small, too feeble to repair what had been broken in his months away. Claire finally spoke, her voice steady yet fragile. "You were gone, Ethan. Gone in ways you can't imagine. And in your absence, I had to learn to exist without you." The weight of her words hit him harder than any physical blow. He realized that the void he had ignored, thinking it would vanish upon his return, had instead expanded, leaving emotional scars that neither of them could ignore. The truth spilled slowly, painfully. Claire recounted the nights she waited by the phone, listening to its silence, the holidays she celebrated alone, the moments she had wished he would appear, only to face emptiness. Ethan's chest ached with guilt. He had lived through the months abroad thinking only of deadlines and ambition, blind to the quiet agony of the person he loved most. The forbidden choices he had made, small indulgences, distractions, fleeting encounters he rationalized as harmless, now seemed monumental, each a thread in the tapestry of betrayal that had taken hold of their home. In the next hour, Ethan attempted to bridge the gap. He brought up memories of their shared past. The nights spent walking by the harbor, laughing until their cheeks hurt. The rain-soaked afternoons they danced in, defiant of the world. The whispered dreams of a future that felt possible in the cocoon of their love. But Claire's eyes, once bright and trusting, reflected caution, wariness, and the remnants of hurt that refused to vanish overnight. Could nostalgia alone mend the wounds of absence? Or was it merely a bittersweet reminder of what could no longer be restored? Hours passed, and the conversation deepened. Ethan confessed every lapse, every moment of weakness, and every decision that had fueled Claire's silent suffering. He recounted nights of longing, moments of regret, and the realization that ambition, though rewarding professionally, had cost him the most precious thing in life: love and trust. Claire listened, sometimes with tears, sometimes in silence, but her body language told the story of someone weighing forgiveness against self-preservation. The tension was unbearable, yet charged with the potential for redemption. As the evening deepened, Claire revealed a secret Ethan had never anticipated: an unsent letter she had written during his absence. A letter filled with her feelings of abandonment, love, frustration, and questions he was now forced to confront. It was a reflection of her inner turmoil and a mirror to his neglect. Ethan read the letter aloud, each word tearing through his defenses, exposing the raw, unfiltered emotions that months of separation had fostered. The room was heavy with vulnerability, and the act of reading aloud brought them closer to truth, if not yet to reconciliation. Through the letter, memories of Ethan's absence surfaced. Weekends spent working late, missed milestones, and clandestine moments where he prioritized everything else over love. Claire's words revealed not only her pain, but also her resilience, courage, and unwillingness to let resentment define her. She had grown, matured, and navigated the challenges of his absence with dignity, a stark reminder that love left unattended could still thrive in strength even amidst heartbreak. By the nightfall, Ethan and Claire were on a tenuous path of dialogue. Each sentence, each confession, each revelation carved a small pathway through the wilderness of hurt, trust, and emotional turmoil. Ethan understood that forgiveness was not instantaneous, that healing required patience, transparency, and vulnerability. He was ready to rebuild, but the question remained: Could love alone repair months of absence and the choices made in that time? Could trust, once fractured, ever return to its former state? The air grew quieter as the clock struck midnight. Outside, Charleston was silent, the streets bathed in the silver glow of the moon. Inside, Ethan and Claire sat in a fragile truce, each aware that tomorrow would demand more than words. It would demand courage, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to confront the emotional consequences of timing, secrecy, and choices made under the guise of necessity. Yet, just as Ethan allowed himself a glimmer of hope, the phone rang. A message from an unexpected source that threatened to upend the delicate balance they had begun to achieve. Secrets long buried threatened to resurface, and the path to redemption now teetered on a knife's edge. What would this revelation mean for their already fragile reconciliation? Could Ethan and Claire survive one more test, or had fate already decided the outcome? If this story has moved you, comment, "I seek my truth." Share it with anyone navigating love, absence, and reconciliation. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVc, and turn on the notification bell for more heart-wrenching, suspenseful, and emotionally charged tales of forbidden love and second chances. The next chapter will plunge them into emotional confrontation, secrets revealed, and choices that could either heal or destroy everything they've fought to preserve. The tension in the living room was palpable, a suffocating mixture of regret, longing, and unsaid words that seemed to press against the very walls. Ethan's eyes searched Claire's face, trying to decipher the storm behind her steady gaze. The years of absence had not only changed him, but had also transformed her. Her smiles were rarer, her laughter more guarded, and her heart a fortress that no one could easily breach. He reached for her hand, only to withdraw, sensing the invisible line of caution that had been etched into their relationship by time and distance. Every second that passed was heavy with the weight of decisions that could never be undone. Claire's thoughts raced as she observed Ethan, the man who had promised presence but delivered absence. She remembered their early days, the quiet walks in the park, the coffee-stained mornings filled with laughter, and the dreams they had whispered into each other's ears. How could so much love have been eclipsed by silence and distance? She wanted to ask him everything, to pour out years of pent-up emotions, but fear held her tongue hostage. Could she truly forgive him? Or was this reunion just another step in a cycle of disappointment? Ethan finally spoke, his voice a mixture of desperation and hope. "Claire, I know I've failed you in ways that words can't mend, but I'm here now. I'm not asking for the past back. I'm asking for a chance to be part of your present, to build something new, if you'll let me." His gaze was raw, vulnerable, stripped of pretense, yet Claire felt the familiar ache of doubt. Words, after all, could not erase absence. Could actions still redeem what time had taken away? The room seemed to shrink around them as memories flooded in, a quiet dinner that never happened, a birthday forgotten, the empty chair at Christmas, the late-night calls that went unanswered. Ethan's presence was both comforting and torturous. He was a reminder of love once alive, now fragile, and Claire wondered whether her heart had healed enough to withstand him again. Every tick of the clock felt like a verdict on their fragile connection. Suddenly, a phone buzzed on the table. Claire's hand shook as she reached for it, revealing a message that made her blood run cold. It was from someone she hadn't heard from in years, a reminder that life had moved on while Ethan had been away. The message was simple, yet it carried layers of threat and temptation. Not everything stays waiting. Some things move on, just like you did. Claire's heart pounded as she realized that the consequences of Ethan's absence extended beyond their relationship. There were secrets and consequences she had been forced to navigate alone. And his return might not just heal, but also awaken storms she wasn't ready to face. Ethan noticed the sudden change in her demeanor. "What is it?" he asked, anxiety creeping into his tone. Claire's fingers trembled over the phone screen, and she finally turned to him, eyes wide with disbelief and betrayal. "It's not just us, Ethan. It's everything I've had to face while you were gone. And now you're here, and I don't know if I'm ready for you or for the chaos you left behind." Her words were sharp, cutting through the fragile hope he had tried to nurture. The room seemed to close in, shadows deepening and the past pressing forward like an unstoppable tide. Ethan's heart sank. The realization hit him that mere apologies, mere presence, could never undo the complicated tapestry of lives lived apart. He had missed birthdays, milestones, emergencies, tears that fell silently without his shoulder to catch them. The weight of guilt and responsibility pressed down on him. Could he ever make amends for years of absence? Could love survive the test of time, distance, and the hidden battles Claire had fought alone? Suddenly, the doorbell rang. The sound was jarring, breaking the tense standoff with a force that startled both of them. Claire's eyes darted toward the door, her pulse quickening. Who could be there at a time like this? And what secrets or revelations were about to walk into their already fragile world? The unanswered questions multiplied. Would this arrival heal or shatter the fragile thread of hope between them? As the door creaked open, Ethan and Claire faced a new reality neither had anticipated. The past, present, and unknown future collided in that narrow threshold. How would the arrival of this unexpected visitor reshape their story? Could forgiveness truly restore what time and absence had torn apart? Or was this just the beginning of another heartbreaking chapter? If this story has gripped you so far, comment, "I'm holding on." Share this story with those who need to see it, subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVc, and follow for more emotional and suspenseful stories that explore forbidden love, heartbreak, and redemption. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell because what happens next will change everything. The door creaked open, revealing a figure that neither Ethan nor Claire expected. It was Daniel, Claire's longtime friend and confidant, the one who had silently helped her navigate the years of loneliness and heartache in Ethan's absence. His expression was a mixture of concern, disbelief, and something darker, an unspoken warning that whatever hope Ethan had brought might not survive the realities that had festered in the years he was gone. Claire froze, caught between relief and trepidation, while Ethan's stomach twisted. He had known that his absence had consequences, but the scope of those consequences, the depth of secrets he'd ignored, was finally unveiling itself in living color. Daniel stepped in cautiously, his gaze sweeping between them. "Claire, I didn't expect him back so soon," he said, his voice measured, almost accusing. Claire's fingers tightened around the edge of the sofa, a lifeline against the storm of emotions surging inside her. "Daniel, this is Ethan," she murmured, barely audible. Ethan's eyes met Daniel's, searching for understanding, for forgiveness, for some sign that the man who had supported Claire in his absence would accept him. Daniel's silence was deafening. For a moment, the room was thick with tension, each heartbeat amplified. Ethan swallowed hard. He had returned to rebuild love, to reclaim a place in Claire's life, yet he had walked straight into a web of unspoken truths. Secrets, small and large, had accumulated like dust in a house left empty too long. And now, facing Daniel, he realized that love alone might not be enough to untangle the intricate mess of consequences, regrets, and unspoken decisions. Claire, sensing the intensity of the moment, finally spoke. "Daniel, Ethan's here. He came back for me." Her voice trembled, but there was steel in it, a reminder that she had survived years of absence and abandonment. Daniel's gaze softened slightly, but suspicion lingered. "I know he's here," he replied. "But the question is, for what? To fix what was broken, or to step into a world he doesn't understand anymore?" Ethan felt the weight of those words like a hammer striking his chest. The man who had once shared laughter, dreams, and late-night secrets with Claire was now an outsider, navigating a world he had ignored for too long. The afternoon sun faded, casting long, ominous shadows across the living room. Every corner of the space seemed to hold memories, some cherished, some painful. Ethan tried to speak, his voice breaking slightly as he searched for the right words. "Claire, I know I've failed you. Every missed birthday, every lonely night, it was my fault. But I am here now. Let me try to make it right." His hands were open, vulnerable, and pleading, but Claire's heart wavered between hope and caution. Could she trust the man who had abandoned her to rebuild the fragile bond she had nurtured alone? Daniel's eyes narrowed slightly. "Actions speak louder than words, Ethan. Years of absence aren't erased by apologies." His words were sharp but honest, a reflection of reality. Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity. He wasn't here to demand forgiveness, only to earn it, step by step. Claire moved toward the window, looking out at the quiet street where she had walked so many evenings alone, dreams suspended in silence. She turned back, facing Ethan. "I've learned to survive without you," she said softly. "And if you're going to be part of my life again, you'll need to accept that I've changed. I've grown stronger, and I won't be broken again." Ethan felt both hope and fear in her words, a warning and an invitation intertwined. Could he match the strength and resilience that had carried her through the lonely years of his absence? Could love survive the weight of time and the ghosts of past mistakes? The rain began to patter against the window, each drop a reminder of the passage of time, of moments lost and opportunities gone. Ethan stepped closer, cautiously, letting his hand hover near Claire's arm, not touching, not assuming, but offering presence. The air between them was electric, charged with the tension of possibility and the threat of disappointment. Every second was a decision, to hope, to fear, or to surrender to the weight of the past. Suddenly, Claire's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time it was a photograph, a memory she had tried to bury, showing Ethan from years ago standing with someone she had once trusted implicitly. The image stirred confusion, betrayal, and a sudden rush of unanswered questions. Ethan's face paled as he saw her expression. He knew that some truths, long buried, were about to rise to the surface, testing the fragile trust they were trying to rebuild. The conversation that followed was tense, a delicate dance between truth and perception. Claire confronted Ethan about the years he had been absent, the choices he had made, and the lives that had been affected by his disappearance. Ethan, raw with remorse, recounted his own struggles, the loneliness, the regret, and the desperate desire to return to the life he had abandoned. Each word he spoke was heavy with honesty, yet the past refused to loosen its grip. Could explanations repair the broken timeline of their shared history? Could love bridge the chasm carved by absence and secrecy? Hours passed like minutes, and the storm outside mirrored the turmoil within. Claire's walls, built over years of solitude and resilience, began to show cracks. Ethan's presence was both a balm and a threat, healing and wounding simultaneously. They spoke of forgiveness, trust, and the terrifying possibility of starting anew. Yet every revelation carried the potential for heartbreak. The past lingered like a shadow, and the future was uncertain, a tightrope stretched over years of distance and decisions. As night fell, the tension reached its peak. The question hovered in the air. Could Ethan's return mend what he had broken, or was the damage irreversible? Could forgiveness restore a love fractured by time, absence, and secrets? Claire's eyes searched his, seeking signs of sincerity, while Ethan's heart pounded with the knowledge that the fate of their shared story rested on a delicate balance of truth, courage, and the will to try again. And just as they leaned into a fragile truce, the sound of a knock at the door interrupted them again. Another revelation, another test of the bond they were struggling to rebuild, was about to enter their lives. Who would it be? And what new truths, hidden desires, or threats would force them to confront everything they thought they knew about each other? If this story has moved you, comment, "I won't give up." Share this journey with those who need to witness it. Subscribe to Taboo Romance Stories TVc and follow for more suspenseful, emotional, and gripping tales of forbidden love and redemption. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because the next chapter will challenge everything Ethan and Claire believe about love, trust, and second chances.